Okay, now we will talk about the practical regarding the prostate pathology. Now look at the image of this prostate gland. What unusual thing you find in it? Is it a normal looking or there is some problem with this image? What pathology you find in this prostate? You have seen the histology of prostate so far or not? In your not film, you must have covered by now the histology of prostate gland. Does it look normal to you or some? It's not a normal looking.
No.
Not normal.
What abnormality is there?
Inflammatory response.
Yes, very good. Which type of inflammatory response? Could it be lymphocyte or something else? There is lymphocyte also.
Okay.
Plus, what else?
Some neutrophils.
Very good, neutrophil. You can see these spikes and this is basically multi-lobe nuclei of the neutrophils. Look like ants. These are not lymphocyte exactly round in shape. Lymphocyte will be round in shape, and these with small branch like you can see legs coming out. These are the multi-lobe nuclei of the neutrophils. Therefore, to make a diagnosis of chronic prostatitis, we must search for some neutrophils. If some neutrophils are there along with lymphocyte, then we call it as a chronic prostatitis. If I say it is a prostatic hyperplasia, is it a hyperplasia or not?
Hyperplasia?
Prostatic hyperplasia. Benign prostatic hyperplasia.
No.
Why? Why?
Because there is inflammatory response in prostatic hyperplasia.
But inflammatory response can be with benign prostatic hyperplasia.
But there is no neutrophils.
No, there will be neutrophil. You don't find increased number of glands over there. You know, one gland is here, other gland is there. In benign prostatic hyperplasia, you will see a very large gland in foldings, and corpora and malacia and glands are relatively close to each other. So, and these are the smooth muscle fibers. These are the smooth muscle fibers, and there is basically edema, which has created some swelling over here. Otherwise, this is not so widely spaced. This is some edema in the background because of the inflammation. The edema has created some spaces in the stroma. So this is an image showing lymphocytes and neutrophils, and so it's a case of chronic prostatitis. Now look into this prostate gland. A 60-year-old male have a chronic history of urinary retention, and on digital examination, per rectal digital examination, prostate gland was enlarged and transvesical enucleation of prostate gland was done. Transvesical prostatectomy was done. Transvesectomy through urinary. And this is the gross morphology showing you whole of the prostate gland. What is your diagnosis?
Benign prostatic hyperplasia.
Benign prostatic hyperplasia.
Because enlargement from paraurethral.
Yes. And what other feature?
Retention of the
That is the in history.
Early.
Just on this, after listening to the history,
That's white.
look at this. What? Why not you call it as a carcinoma? He
Because
says
it's
benign prostatic
Sponge and
hyperplasia.
white.
Yes, it is
Spongy.
spongy,
White.
and
White or yellow.
creamy white in color,
Yeah.
spongy in nature.
the tumor go within the
It is involving whole of the
Yeah.
prostate gland basically, and there is no grayish white or solid area in it. So it is a benign prostatic hyperplasia. Which tumor marker is raised with this condition?
Tumor marker.
Which tumor marker will be raised with this condition. PSA.
Yes.
When you will study this PSA,
Yeah.
below 4 nanogram per milliliter is it seen in benign condition. It may be 1 nanogram, it may be 2 or 3, like this. Therefore, chronic prostatitis can also raise PSA level. Benign prostatic hyperplasia sometimes can also raise the PSA level. Catheterization. You put the Foley's catheter to release the urinary retention, and then you take the blood sample for PSA level, it will be raised. Therefore, you must take the sample before you touch the prostate gland. Even you do the prostatic rectal examination, it can raise the PSA level. Therefore, if you are suspecting this, you must take the PSA level before, and then you catheterize the patient, or take the Crooker biopsy, or perform the FNA, or so on. So these are, there may be a question, name the non-neoplastic condition in which the PSA level can be raised. In the same way, after surgery, transurethral resection was done, and PSA level is raised. What is its significance? It is not reliable because the surgical trauma can raise the PSA level. Therefore, we have to wait for a certain period of time and then repeat the PSA level. Therefore, any sort of trauma to the prostate gland, either you introduce the trauma or some inflammatory process is introducing the trauma, it can raise the PSA level. But usually in carcinomas, PSA level is above 4.
PSA level?
Carcinoma, the PSA level is usually above 4.
PSA.
PSA, prostate specific antigen. Who is clever enough to remember this PSA level? I talked about this PSA level in some other system as well. Yes.
Endocrine.
Not in endocrine.
GAT.
GAT, very good. Which part of the GAT?
Pancreas.
Huh?
Pancreas.
Color?
Salivary gland. If you remember, salivary gland also sometimes raises the PSA level, inflammation of the salivary gland. So, when you study this tumor marker, you have to study PSA level in detail from your basic Robbins pathology. It is as a part of your STL. There is a free PSA level, there is a bind PSA level, and they have a very important significance. This is your task. I will not tell you this thing. You may have a question on this free PSA level value. What is the value of free PSA level in malignancy, for example? Therefore, this is all mentioned in the Robbins basic pathology. You study this PSA in detail. Very, very important marker. Now look into the morphology of a section taken from an enlarged prostate gland of a 50-year-old male with history of urinary retention. So this is the history. This is a question or scenario. Look at the morphology of a prostate which is taken from a 45-year or 50-year-old male with history of urinary retention. What is your diagnosis?
Benign prostatic.
Benign prostatic hyperplasia. Do you all agree with this?
No.
What is your opinion? You said no very quickly, but what you have in your mind? What it could be?
Increasing glands.
Malignant. Yes, malignant.
Why you call malignant? First thing you see, there is a stoma in between. Glands are hyperplastic. In malignancy, you don't find this type of hyperplastic glands, And in malignancy, in early stages, the glands are more uniform looking. Then multi-layering of the epithelial cells is there with basal cell layer intact. And this picture
Thickening.
gives you a lobulated appearance, one lobule here, one lobule here, and like this. So it is in favor of benign prostatic hyperplasia. Benign prostatic hyperplasia. Why? You can see glands,
Hyperplastic.
they are relatively increased in size and number. They show papillary unfolding. Lining epithelium shows stratification of nuclei, but in carcinoma you don't have stratification of nuclei. You don't have the basal cell layer there over there. And nuclear features are more prominent in carcinoma. For carcinoma, I will show you a little higher image. This is a low image for benign prostatic hyperplasia. But if a slide of carcinoma is there, we have to look at in a high power to confirm the presence of basal cell layer and all these features. So this image is showing you features of benign prostatic hyperplasia. Again, a high power view of the same. Here you can see two layers, the basal cell layer and the other cell, tall columnar cells. In carcinoma, the cells are not tall. They are more cuboidal, more close to cuboidal in nature. And multi-layering is not there. And this intraglandular papillary projection unfoldings are not there. Carpora and malacia in malignant glands are not seen. So these features are in favor of benign prostatic hyperplasia. Sometimes benign prostatic hyperplasia, in this there is a hyperplasia of epithelial component and there is hyperplasia of stromal component, both. If you remember, the dihydrotestosterone is a hormone derived from testosterone, is responsible for stromal proliferation and the epithelial proliferation in benign prostatic hyperplasia. Therefore, you will, in some time, we may find predominant stromal component hyperplasia, or we may find predominant epithelial component hyperplasia. This is further variation in it. But at your level, you can ignore this. It will be confusing for you. But here you just see increased number of glands, columnar cells, both layers can be basal and the upper nuclear layer cell can be seen, carpoda and malacia there, papillary projection into the lumen. So these are the features of benign prostatic hyperplasia. Now look into this patient with this. Now in this image, for example, if I say this transvesical prostatectomy is done, and which shows the following morphology. What you look in, what you find in this image, you find any difference between the previous one or the same?
Solid.
There you can see this more grayish white solid looking area. This grayish white solid looking area. So these grayish white areas are suspicious area. Other areas are not. They may be normal or they may be showing some features of benign prostatic hyperplasia like feature, but these grayish white area, they are suspicious area. You must take section from these, you will come out with the carcinoma over there. So therefore, the grayish white, firm or solid or hard looking areas are features of malignancy. If I take section from this, for example, area, I will not find any malignancy over there because it's not grayish white. It is normal light brown. This is light brown normal area. Only these whitish